Hello and welcome, everybody. My name's Paul O'Neill. It's Andy McEwen next to me, lead commentator for TCR UK. Right then, we're at Donington. We're on the national circuit. Should be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to it. It's a bit windy. My fringe is having a struggle. It's cold-ish, but this could be an interesting round, this, because drop scores are now going to start to come into this championship with this weekend and then the Snetterton final.
Yeah, 4 races left. I don't know where the season's gone. It seems like only yesterday we were at Alton Park on a sunny Easter bank holiday, and we were starting off this new era of TCR UK. And what a year it's been. We've got a heck of a title fight developing. 2 of them stretching away slightly, but we've seen in the past that 2 races can change everything. So yeah, important day ahead. Last chance for drivers to calculate those drop scores before we head to the decider.
Like you touched on, some amazing drivers in the championship, some newbies that we're going to chat to in a second that have just turned up. But the experience seems like it's coming through, doesn't it? The likes of Chris Smiley, who's a tin top specialist. Isaac Smith has been a standout star, hasn't he? To be fair to him, he's been very, very good. Yeah,
I mean, you say the experience is showing, and that's true of Smiley, but then you've got a polar opposite in Isaac Smith. He's not a newcomer to racing, but to this level of racing he is, and yeah, they've both been super impressive. They've both had kind of similar seasons in a way. They've both been about consistency rather than raw pace. I don't think there's ever been a weekend where either Chris or Isaac have been the fastest driver on the track, but you don't have to be to win a championship. You have to finish all the races, score lots of points, and that's what they've done, and there's a handful of points between them. I really can't call it.
Yeah. Do you think Chris Smiley would be disappointed that he's not won more races? Because when he turned up in that new Honda, I was thinking, you lot are done for. But doesn't seem to be the case, does it?
Pole position at Alton Park, won the first race pretty comfortably. I think he was 5th in the second race, and then from that point on, yeah, hasn't won a race since. It's crazy to think, actually, the top 2 in the championship have 1 race win between them when you consider all the race wins that the others have taken, Max Hart, for example, Alex Lee, and yeah, I think they'll both be disappointed about that. Isaac less so. Chris probably did come into the championship. The expectations that we were all putting on him was that he was going to win lots of races, he was the man to beat, and he sort of is, points-wise, but yeah, more race wins would have been nice. He's an experienced campaigner, though. He knows that's not what it's all about, and hey, could win today. You know, he qualified on the front row here on the GP circuit earlier on this season. If it hadn't been for lap 1 contact with Adam Shepherd, he may well have won that day, so I wouldn't rule it out.
Yeah. Max Hart, somebody we've got to mention. Definitely someone who's going to be quick. He won both races here last time, but on the GP circuit.
Yeah, but I think that Hyundai's going to work well around the National as well. He's gone well here in the past too. They do have a niggly little issue. I've been hearing this morning in their free practice. They had a 15-minute practice session before, and it says the car's a little bit down on power. That's concerning him slightly, but he just needs to get his head down. He needs another double win, really, certainly a double podium, and needs to hope that some bad luck befalls Chris and Isaac, because he's a long way back now, and without a bit of good luck, which he's long overdue, he could be out of it.
Yeah, and the Kents, I've got to be careful how I say that. Those 2 lads, not had the best of years, have they?
No, not at all. I spoke to Brad before. It looked like he'd rather be anywhere else than Donington Park. But actually, I've got a good feeling. Again, they're both in Hyundais. They both went well here earlier in the season. And they just need something to pick them up. That whole team's down a little bit, actually. You know, Lewis, a double reigning champion, and might not even be in contention now heading to the final round. And poor old Brad nearly won the championship last year, and I think he's had 7 non-finishes this year. That is insane. So, yeah, fingers crossed for them that they can pick it up for their own sake, really, more than anything else.
Yeah, definitely. Interesting stuff. I'm going to have a word with a few of the guys, so I'll let you crack on. First of all, a good friend of mine, running with Paul Sheard Racing. I'm going to just whip this down, G-boy, because it'll be a bit of a pain otherwise. George, I'm telling you what, mate, you've thrown yourself in the deep end here, mate.
Big time, big time. Well, happy to be here. Just going to see how it goes, and yeah, give it my best shot. Really looking forward to it. It's going to be awesome. I'm just, yeah, happy to be here.
What do you think the situation is with TCR as a whole? It's something you've watched. I know that you were wanting to come into the championship. What's brought you to it in the end?
Just think, amazing cars, fantastic grid, and yeah, I've definitely seen more and more of it about, been watching it on YouTube, definitely got me interested and thought, oh, I'll go with that. So yeah, loving it.
Right, my man, I'm going to let you go. I'm sorry I've left that, because otherwise, can you do that? You sound me that, because otherwise I'll break it. Them nets are a legal requirement. That's to stop any kind of injuries if there's an accident, limbs and things like that coming out the car. Sorry to say that, but that's the way it is. Listen, let's speak to somebody who I thought was exceptional. He was exceptional, not Nick Beaumont. He's still owes me about £2.5 for crashing into my road car. And whatever you say, they won't be able to hear because I've got the microphone. So you and your grey hair can go home. No, go away. Matty, you were the standout star at Castle Combe, mate. And I was interested to get your thoughts because that is a scary place. And I didn't really think you'd be up for going flat out around somewhere like that, mate.
I just love Castle Combe, and obviously being a local track, I just wanted to do really well for all the friends and family and everyone. But no, I loved it. It was an awesome race for me.
Do you come away from there being massively disappointed with what happened because of the penalisation of the jump start, or do you come away with massive positives thinking, I can smoke a lot of these guys now?
Yeah, it's a mixture. Obviously, I'm gutted with what's happened, but at the end of the day, I've got to do it all over again now, and it proves that I can do it.
Are you happy enough with quali at the minute? I know you guys had a little bit of a test, but it was interrupted, wasn't it, when I was here the other week?
Yeah, it was a tough test session last week. We didn't get that much track time. So it's going to be this weekend harder, but it's still going to give everything we can.
Top man, listen, I'll leave you to it, and you can get focused. Nick Beaumont, just a quick one. Seriously, I'm not going to take the mickey. Everyone's just running away. You've got to be impressed with what he's done. Sorry to put me back to you. You've got to be impressed with what he's done because it was a special effort, mate, round Castle Combe, wasn't it?
Oh, it is. You know, Castle Combe, it's a big circuit, isn't it? You've got to be committed. And fair play to Matt. You know, he was up there on pace. He was keeping with him. The first two pulled away near the end of the race, and unfortunately, we had a little jump start. The lights were a long time. It's not Matt's fault. You know, the clutch was getting hot. It's one of those things, but he drove fantastic. You know, really, really good. We both worked with him for a long time. We've both seen him come through, and it's great for him to have a really good, you know, result in front of his local fans and friends, and that was nice.
Yeah. Top man, nice one. Good luck today, boys. Spot on. Good team, good people. We like them. Another guy that we need to speak to, well, his rival is right opposite him. Don't worry about the net, mate, because it'll get on your nerves. But Chris Smiley, car's looking superiorly clean, mate. Looks amazing. Team do a good job, don't they? It's all about the little detail, isn't it, now in TCR? Because it's getting a bit harder, isn't it? Didn't used to be a bit easier, but it isn't now, is it?
No, there's no top-line national motorsport now easy. You know, the guys they all have new cars. They all have experienced crews working on them. So the car has to be prepared to the last word. So yeah, the guys have been busy since the last race at Castle Combe. You know, it was very warm there, so there's lots of things you have to check on the car after a weekend like that. But yeah, we had a little bit of a shakedown there this morning. The car feels good. This is an awesome track. So yeah, really looking forward to qualifying here. It's it's going to be interesting with all the success ballast in 40 kilos in the car. But whenever you look at it back from Combe, we're only really gaining another 10 kilos. So yeah, it's neither here nor there. It is what it is. We've got it in, and we've just got to get on with it.
In quali, is the crane as flat? That's always something I like to ask people. In sixth gear, is it a lift? What's the sketch in one of these cars?
If it's not flat, you're not going hard enough.
He's answered that well, then, hasn't he? Flat out. It's probably about 125, 30 miles an hour apex crane of curves in one of these. So rear wings are interesting on these. A lot of people run them quite flat and they just make sure there's no drag. But some people actually do run them with a bit of wing and they give them a bit more rear stability. Just depends on what kind of car you've got. This being a saloon car, it might run a bit differently to maybe Isaac Smith, who's in the Golf hatchback. But quickly, we'll just ask Isaac a few things. Sorry, you're right. It's a nice jacket, that. Can I have that?
You can have that, mate, no problem.
Nice one. I'm nicking loads of stuff off people, like mugs and everything. Isaac, your mum messages me quite a lot, which is a worry.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, man. She messages everybody.
But to be fair to her, she's such a proud mum with what you've done. And you are in a fantastic position now, mate, to really do some damage this weekend in the title stakes. But do you look at the overall scores and then look at the dropped and think, that's a bit annoying?
Yeah, it is a bit annoying, to be honest. Like, we've been consistent all year. The problem is the car is not quite enough to be able to go out and win.
I'll let you go, man. I know you need to go. No worries. Yeah, sorry about that. That was a late call from the guys. Just trying to get them out on track. So let's go this way so we can get out the way and we'll have a little chat with some of the guys just on the exit of this, starting this qualifying session now. But yeah, no, so as Isaac was saying, he's in a pretty good position, to be fair to him. And all these cars now, you see them, they're kind of all jockeying for position because in qualifying you want to be up the front, and that's why they get here early. But at the end of the day, they've got to come in for a tyre cross. So they'll put the front axle on the rear axle, because you don't want to be driving around in a front-wheel drive car with cold rear tyres. So the fronts get the heat in, and then they put the fronts on the rears and vice versa. So that is how they go touring car racing. Let's quickly just say a little word to Stuart Lyons, because this is my lift, actually. He's going to give me a lift. Quick word, Stuart, who do you think is going to take the pole?
Smiley or a Hyundai. Shepherd.
Oh, nice one.
Shepherd.
Smiley or Shepherd. There you go. Well, that's the championship organiser, so if he gets that wrong, we know we're all in a bit of trouble. Anyway, I think we're going to go to a little break, and then we're going to be having comms in a bit of a time.
For voice and data solutions at speeds that are simply out of this world, choose Maximum Networks.
Qualifying underway here on the Donington Park National Circuit for the penultimate event of the 2022 TCR UK Championship season. It's an overcast and blustery day. Summer well and truly seems to be over, but the season is not over yet. We're getting down to crunch time now, 4 races to go, and we're into our penultimate qualifying session of the season. Andy McEwen talking to you here from the commentary box. Paul O'Neill is, I'm going to say, hot-footing his way up here. He's hit a lift with Stuart Lyons, so you never know, we might see from him again by the time we get to Snetterton at the end of the season. We'll hope that he gets here before the qualifying session is done to help talk you through all of the action over what is a 30-minute session. The first 5 minutes or so spent by the drivers coming in, getting warmed into the tyres, crossing the tyres over in the way that Paul described. It is a very important qualifying session, this, not only because it sets the grid for the first race of the day, but also because there are championship points on offer. 6 points will go to the driver who is fastest in this session. Anybody inside the top 6 scores points, and with a championship situation as finely poised as this one, those extra bonus points in qualifying both here and at Snetterton for the final round could prove crucial. It's the shorter national circuit at Donington Park being used here today. As you can see, the temperature is not cold, it's just quite a bit cooler than we've become accustomed to over recent months, with pretty much 100% cloud coverage right now over the East Midlands-based circuit, but no rain for the time being, and we're hoping that the track stays dry for the duration of the day. So, cars starting then to circulate around the track, and as Paul was discussing with, amongst others, Isaac Smith down on the grid, the championship very, very finely poised at the moment. Isaac Smith has scored a lot more points than anybody else. He scored about 32 points more than Chris Smiley, who is his nearest opposition coming into this weekend. However, the drivers all drop their 2 lowest race scores of the season, and once that is done, Chris Smiley actually jumps back ahead of Isaac Smith by 4 points. There are 4 championship points in it. They've scored nearly 300 points, and yet only 4 separate those top 2 in the championship. It is a very, very tight championship battle, highly likely to go down to the very last laps of the very last race of the season. What happens over the course of the 2 25-minute races here at Donington Park today will set us up for that championship showdown. So Isaac Smith then behind Chris Smiley on dropped scores. They have now started to build a bit of a cushion over the rest of the field. It's 277 points for Smiley, 273 for Isaac Smith. The next closest driver is Lewis Kent on 225 points. He's over 50 points off the championship lead, but there are 40 points available for winning a race. There are 2 races, of course, at each of our final 2 rounds. That's 80 points, plus the 6 points available for qualifying, and you cannot drop either of the races from Snetterton next time out. So the results that happen at Snetterton, that's it. You're stuck with them. If it all goes wrong there, you can have a 50-point lead going to the final round and still end up not being champion. So as long as the likes of Lewis Kent, who is 3rd in the points, Max Hart, who's 4th, in fact joint 4th with the man we're following now, Bruce Winfield, as long as they can score well here today, they could still be championship contenders as we head to the final 2 races in October. So cars then now starting to get themselves down to the sort of times we would expect. A 1 minute 9, 1 minute 10 second lap time expected to be the front running pace. At the moment the fastest time is set by Jack Constable, who has done a 1 minute 11.194, so we're a little way off the lap times that we're expecting just now. Bruce Winfield hammering the curb there, going up through McLean's corner as he tries to get his Cupra up to full speed. It was actually his teammate at Area Motorsport who set the fastest time earlier on today. Jess Hawkins, winner at Alton Park at the start of the season, she was fastest in the morning's practice session with a 1 minute 10.8, but they were all going to be lap times that were set on old tyres. We expect the pace to be a lot quicker than that in this session. And actually it was Bruce Winfield who was 2nd and Chris Smiley who was 3rd in practice. Smiley was fastest in the qualifying session, now gets pipped by Winfield though, who does now do a 1 minute 10.8. So now we're starting to see the lap times dropping, and it's Bruce Winfield, who was a championship contender when we raced here on this equivalent week a year ago, who has gone to the top of the time so far, with Max Hart now slipping into 2nd position. There goes Isaac Smith, the blue Golf. We'll be seeing a lot of him today, I'm sure, as he turns through Coppice Corner. Behind him, the returning Russell Joyce, who missed the most recent round at Castle Coombe, but great to have Russell back out with us again here at Donington Park, one of the front runners in the Goodyear Diamond Trophy for drivers over the age of 40. There, Scott Sumpton, who was one of the revelations at Castle Coombe last time out, qualifying really well. Didn't have the best of luck in the races and gets very sideways into the chicane, goes straight through the gravel, and that will not be the last driver that we see do that. It's a very tricky braking zone, that into the chicane. I notice it's quite a strong tailwind down that back straight and down the pit straight as well, propelling them off into the braking zones a little bit faster maybe than they're expecting. Right then, the good news, everyone, is that Paul O'Neill has found his way up to the commentary box. More to the point, Stuart Lyons found his way to the commentary box. He delivered you in, I think, one piece, Paul. Getting ready for what's going to be an exciting day of racing here today.
Yeah, it should be good, shouldn't it? And 20 minutes of qualifying left still, so I didn't lose 2 hours. Having a wee, actually. It's quite a long way from the back of the circuit where I was just doing that little grid walk, and then they got run over by Isaac Smith. So yeah, I was dying for a wee. But no, I'm really looking forward to today, actually, because I remember I've only ever seen good races in TCR UK here. They've always been pretty fraught, but at the same time just real good quality racing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
There's something about the Donington National Circuit, Paul, that I really enjoy. It's a blimey, that was wild live from Chris Wallace going through McLean's corner. It's got a real flow to it, this circuit, but it produces fantastic racing. I think it's because it's a momentum circuit. As soon as you get a pack of touring car drivers together, once they go side by side and someone starts to defend, it bottles the whole field up and you get these crazy races. We saw it to an extent on the GP circuit earlier on in the season. The national circuit, though, I think that really exaggerates that.
It really does, yeah. I mean, with those massive big brake zones on the GP circuit, it really does hammer the car's brakes and tyres, and that in turn can make the racing a bit better. But I just find that it's a nice flowing circuit configuration, and at the same time there's plenty of places to get the overlap and the run on other competitors. And Chris Smiley there, I tell you, that car looks absolutely pinned through there. If he's not on pole position, I will be very, very surprised, because that Honda looks so good, and Chris is driving the best I've seen him drive. You know, and I was asking him on the grid about you know, about the consistency and about how to try and win the championship and things like that. And he's just a different driver than from what I remember in other Tin Top series.
No, I quite agree. He was on pole position here at the second event of the season. In fact, he's had 3 pole positions this season. He is the only driver to have claimed more than 1 pole position from a qualifying session. He's done it 3 times. He did it at Alton Park first round, Donington Park the second round, and last time out at Castle Combe. He is currently fastest in this session as well, with 1 minute 10.482. Doesn't quite improve on that lap. However, Adam Shepherd has just gone purple in Sector 1. So Adam Shepherd, who is 3rd fastest right now, going quicker than anybody else in the first sector of the lap. We'll see whether he can translate that into a strong second sector. The lap split into 3 sectors to allow us to properly follow who's going quickly in which part of the lap. His middle sector, Shepherd, is okay, but it is not a personal best. He's been faster earlier on in the session. He'll be heading down towards the end of the lap now as Jamie Tonks has gone straight on, and that's a Redgate corner. Thankfully digs the Area Motorsport with Fast R Cupra out of the gravel trap and gets back into the session.
Interesting stuff. So people trying hard now, and yeah, this is where the tyres will start getting switched on. And Shepherd's lap, like you said, was fantastic in the first sector, but it just dropped away, didn't it, on our timing screen? So the yellow sectors 2 and 3 were not fantastic. But Callum Newsham, he's had a good old year as Callum, and I think he's learning all the time. He's definitely been one that's impressed me, and I've kept an eye on him with his dad as well, Dave Newsham, who's a multiple Tin Top race winner and championship winner, getting some good advice. Russell Joyce, good to have him back. You were saying about him, and there's Shepherd now, and that car looks absolutely lit through there, and he's definitely going to be one to watch, I think, for this qualifying session. Wow, did you see that turning oversteer there? A little bit of input on the steering, and the rear just could not keep up with the input that the steering had put into it. So yeah, looks good though. Be interested to see what the car's like through the chicane, because this is where it can be very leery on the brakes. He's got too much rear brake bias on that thing.
Well, he's purple in the middle sector and a personal best in the speed trap down the back straight, but then, yeah, struggled to get the car stopped. Not that much, though, because he goes to pole by nearly 0.3 of a second. Adam Shepherd, quicker than Chris Smiley. The car is wriggling all over the place into the corners, but it's obviously the way that Adam enjoys driving it, and it is clearly quick. A 1 minute 10.190, the new time to beat, and that means that at the moment he would line up alongside Chris Smiley on the front row. Now, was it not Adam Shepherd who tangled with Chris Smiley at Donington Park on the first lap, or the second lap, when we raced here earlier on in the season? Chris Smiley racing for a championship. That is the last person that he wanted to see up there on the front row with him. Now, Isaac Smith has just improved, by the way, so the other championship contender onto the second row of the grid now. So we've got Shepherd on pole, Smiley second, Bruce Winfield third, and Isaac Smith in 4th position, with Alex Lee, who made his debut in the championship here earlier in the season, rounding out the top 5. Many cars in the pit lane at this point. Chris Smiley, you can see, just pulling into his pit box now as they go through their mid-session tyre change. So halfway through the session then, a very interesting look to the front of the field. Shepherd nearly 0.3 up though, Paul. That's quite the lap.
That is some lap, that is. I think that's the fastest ever TCR UK time I've seen round here, actually. To get to a low 10 is a fantastic effort. So everyone in the pits now probably bolting on new fronts and going again. But yeah, that was some effort as Smiley and Shepherd are in the pits, along with probably 6 or 7 other drivers. So a lot of people coming in and trying to get those tyres back on the car, front axle, brand new tyres, and then the car becomes so pointy when you put just 2 new fronts on. Because what you don't want is a lot of rear grip. So when you've got old tyres on the back of the car, that helps the front turn in, because the fronts are always a bit newer. But when you get brand new fronts on and older rears that have been on the car for a while, that's when it becomes a real handful. And Shepherd might want a bit of what we call oversteer dialed out of the car, because it was dancing around too much at the rear, and that then can become a big problem.
You are absolutely spot on, Paul. That is a new qualifying lap record. The previous lap record was actually set the first year here. Some bloke called Dan Lloyd was on pole position with a 1 minute 10.358. Shepard's done a 10.190. I mean, that's quite a bit quicker than Dan Lloyd went. Interestingly, Dan Lloyd's car that he set that lap time with is racing with us again, isn't it? We spoke to George Healer on the sort of dummy grid there before they headed out onto the circuit. That's a car with some history. It won the first ever TCR UK Championship in the hands of Dan Lloyd. And nice to see it back out there now, being run by a different team, different driver in the car. But yeah, a little bit of TCR UK history on track this weekend.
Yeah, which is good to see, isn't it? And George was just saying that, oh, look at that. And that's something we've seen a lot of. Alex Lee flat out sideways. Them Hyundais are really leery, aren't they?
And really quick, because Max Hart has just made it a Hyundai 1-2. Max Hart onto the front row, that's what he needed. You're right though, the Hyundais, they always do look a bit nervous to me. I sort of feel like that's how they get the lap time out of them, but 1 or 2 of them this morning, Paul, really living life on the edge.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Alex Lee, a bit of a flash there as well to say, yeah, don't worry guys, I'm fine. But yeah, that car looking very leery. Into Redgate, this is down a couple of gears. You can see the front wheels counter steering through the corner, and obviously the more you can do that, if it's not out of control, that is exactly what you want. You want the weight taken off the rear of the car, so that looks after the front tyres as they can steer the other way and not scrub laterally across the tarmac.
Such a momentum circuit this as well, that I guess the less steering input you're putting in, the less speed you're therefore scrubbing off through the corner. So you want a lively rear end, I suppose, but some of these cars really dancing around. Alex Lee, by the way, improved slightly there, went from 6th to 5th, back to both sides 5th, down to 6th position. That is significant because it means that he's only scoring 1 point at the moment from this qualifying session, whereas his championship rival Chris Smiley would be scoring 4, so that would be another 3 points. It would take the gap out to 7 points between the two of them as we go into that first race later on. But Alex Lee, 3 times a winner this season, Paul. The most wins of any driver on the grid this season. He didn't even do the first round at Alton Park. What a revelation this young lad is.
It's so impressive, isn't it? And that lap just sums him up there. That exit was unreal. Max Hart's gone quickest in Sector 1.
He has.
So Max Hart will be now going towards McLean's and Coppice, because Sector 1 is just, I think Sector 1 finishes as you come out of the old hairpin. So there is Max Hart, great direction from our guys up in the comms box. And this is Max Hart. Let's see where this next sector is, because it's as you exit Coppice, he's backed off.
Yeah, that was a short shift, wasn't it? So you're right, maybe had a mistake somewhere out of our sight, weaving the car around, cleaning the tyres up, and he'll go again. But the potential for pole position is there, I think. It needs to find over a quarter of a second, though, and that's not easy to do around a what, 70-second lap?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very, very interesting. It's
nice pitting.
That's interesting. Maybe is he had a bit of a moment, because he was weaving the tyres. That's either to get heat into them or to get the choked up dust and rubber off them. So interesting. Here's our newbie George Healer just going through the picture. Jamie Tonks has already been off the road. He's been a winner as well. He's been impressive as well. I remember when he first turned up, he had ABS on the car, then that was banned. So everybody had to get rid of ABS if they had it. But Jamie Tonks, somebody who's come through the Civic Cup and has looked well at home, hasn't he?
Yeah, debuted this car here in Donington. Remember, he had the DSG car for the opening rounds at Alton, then switched this car here on the Grand Prix circuit and was instantly on the pace. Not always the best qualifier, but part of that is tactical, because of course the compensation weight system is based upon qualifying time. So the better you qualify, the more weight you then have to carry at the next round. So Jamie's always quite happy to be towards the back of the top 10, because we know that he has got arguably the best race pace of any driver out there. He always comes on strong in the second half of these 25-minute races.
Yeah, definitely. Just keeping an eye on the times, and I think people are just starting to come to the end. It's a bit of a crossover, this is.
Purple first sector, sorry Paul, purple first sector for Chris Smiley. He's gone back into second place. I reckon Max Hart's had a lap time disallowed there, because Chris Smiley has jumped ahead of him to second. In fact, no, Smiley improved on his previous lap, took second away, but the Honda driver, purple in sector 1 and a personal best in sector 2, so he's heading towards the chicane now, and Chris Smiley, the championship leader, remember, crosses the line and goes to pole position by 81 thousandths of a second, and that, Paul, could be crucial.
Wow, that is some lap. I thought Shepard's lap was some lap, yeah. But that was brilliant. Purple, green, green. So absolute best in the first sector, but Shepard ain't going to do anything about it on this lap. Let's see where this ends him Oh, Shepherd hits the pole. Shepherd with a purple sector 3, but 2 yellows, so not brilliant 2 first sectors, but through the chicane, absolutely nails it, backs off and to try and catch his breath. What a lap that was!
That was incredible. He's back ahead, but I mean, Smiley took pole by less than 1/10 of a second. Shepherd is now nearly 1/10 up on him again, so Chris Smiley has to try and respond. His first sector is not an improvement. It's not a slow first sector, though, so we'll stick with this. Out of coppice, the second sector ends just halfway down this exhibition straight, and we'll get the sector time through momentarily. He's still got his headlights ablaze, he's still pushing on, and it is a personal best in sector 2, so Smiley might be about to fight straight back here and try and get that pole position back. He really wants as many points out of this session as he can get. Right over the curve on the exit of the corner towards the timing line he goes, and it's not quite enough. He's back within 1/10 of pole position, but by 63 1/1000ths of a second, it is still Shepherd on top.
Wow, that was some lap, and we've dipped into the 9s for the very first time, and that is some lap. A 9.9 round here in a front-wheel drive tin top is a proper good effort, that is. I'm well impressed with that. So, yeah, all looking good, and George Healer just trying to maybe get out of Chris Smiley's way. George, to be fair to him, has only ever run on heated tyres, so tyre warmers on his car, and he's not been racing that long, and you can see Chris is not too keen on turning in. He doesn't know where George is going to go, but George is a pretty switched on lad, and he's let him go. But yeah, a lot going on in this session.
Max Hart, personal best in sector 1. He's the next car behind this group, is heading towards Coppice Corner, and he has improved in the first sector based on his previous best lap. Jack Constable, by the way, has just gone 4th. That knocks Isaac Smith out of the points now, down to 7th place. Here comes Max, though, down the back straight. The second sector isn't an improvement, but what can he pull out through the short final sector? The final sector only a dozen seconds or so. Hammers the curb, gets the car sideways, bails from the pit lane. Not at all surprised, because that wasn't a particularly neat end to the lap. He pulls out of the way, therefore, of Bradley Kent the younger. And, well, the Kents, we haven't even mentioned them yet, Paul, with good reason, because Lewis is only 14th. Brad is 20th. 20th place for Brad Kent. What's going on?
What is going on? That's a big problem. There's no way he's 2.5 seconds off, but he's gone green in the first sector, has Brad, so and it's actually not far off a decent time, so he's obviously had some issues. He's only done 4 laps as well, to be fair, Andy, so yeah, this should be a lot better for Brad as he's starting to pick the pace up now, and I'd expect him to be in the top 6 for sure.
Confusing, we've got 2 timing screens on the going to commentary box. Yours, Paul, has Lewis 13th, and mine has him 14th. I'm not quite sure what's going on now. We'll both hit the refresh button and see what happens, but yeah, either way, neither Kent doing particularly well. Bradley Kent then down in 20th, a circuit at which his brother claimed his second TCR UK Championship a year ago, and Bradley almost stole it from him, actually, had it not been for an accident late on in the dramatic final race of the season. Right, Adam Shepherd, casually, whilst we've been talking about other things, has just gone even quicker again. A 109.8 now, 109.890 is 2/10 up on Chris Smiley, and that now surely, with Smiley and indeed Max Hart both in the pit lane, should be the pole position time. Jack Constable 4th, Bruce Winfield 5th, Alex Lee is 6th, and Isaac Smith down in 7th with Callum Newsham, Jamie Thompson, Brad Kent now rounding out the top 10, so they were listening to us. Brad Kent has now broken into the top 10, but that's late in the session to be finding some form. He's not left himself a lot of time to get any further up inside that top 10.
Well, he's gone green again as Bradley, and I expect him to be in that top 6 for sure, and I think this will be the lap, because if he finds 3/10, then he'll be straight up into the top 7 maybe there. So let's see what goes on. But there's a lot of green going on now. There's a lot of people having a go.
Brad Kent getting held up there by George Healer. Alex Lee has just gone 3rd fastest, so Alex Lee 3 times a winner, position number 3 in this qualifying session then, and he is 3/10 slower than Chris Smiley. There's half a second actually between 1st and 3rd on the grid at the moment. Brad Kent here just struggling to find a way past the Golf. He'd almost be better off backing off and dropping away, although in the end George does get the message and lets him go, and Brad Kent has 5.5 minutes left to try and improve again. Chris Smiley heading back out into the session, I notice, so he's not quite done with this yet, and it won't be lost on Chris the importance of trying to go for that extra point for pole position. It's only a point, Paul, but as tight as this championship is, every point's going to matter.
Yeah, well, they're so consistent, the guys at the front. They need every single point they can get, so it'll be something that they'll try and do. And Brad Kent here, just on this lap, has he took too much out of the tyres, or are we going to see a green from him again? Well, let's see. Well, he's gone green straight away, Bradley. and I do expect him, if he finishes this lap off, to be definitely looking at that top 6. He's got to be.
His car looks softer to me than the other Hyundais and not as dancey into the corners. The back of the car looks a lot more stable, doesn't it?
Looks lazy, if I'm honest. It does. It's got quite a bit of dive in it. That's a lot of curb. They won't think he's gone straight over track limits there as well. So I haven't seen any messages about track limits yet, but it's something you've got to be very careful about around here.
Yeah, they were hammering that home in the driver's briefing this morning, weren't they? So Brad Kent, though, I think is past caring at this point, just wants to try and put together not even a particularly strong weekend, just an uneventful weekend would be pretty nice for him. The car wallowing away out of the chicane. His middle sector was not an improvement, but the lap is an improvement. He goes from 10th to 8th. But a couple of little moments there maybe towards the end of the lap that perhaps held him back slightly. Right, we've got Adam Shepherd in the pit lane, but Chris Smiley and Max Hart have both just gone back out again, perhaps on a new set of tyres. Jack Constable's improved in the first sector. Jamie Tonks has just gone 7th, so deep in the session here, Paul. There's still plenty going on.
Yeah, there's a lot going on still, isn't it? I can't see that pole position being wrestled away, though, from Adam Shepherd. It's just too good. But yeah, the Brad Kent still absolutely lit, isn't he? And he only needs a few tenths, and he'll be knocking on the top 5 now.
Yeah, let's see what happens then. Alex Lee across the line, not improving on that lap time, but we have got some personal best sectors coming in. Constable, I mentioned, he's about to, in fact, he's just bailed for the pit lane, so nothing came of that lap. What of Jamie Tonks, though? Because Jamie Tonks has gone green in Sector 1, and he will be heading out onto that back straight any time now. You can see the field streaming through. 25 cars we've got entered this weekend, and there is one of them, Jamie Tonks, in the white and gold Cupra. His middle sector time is yellow, which means it's not a personal best, but it's not a slow sector. And as he pops over the curbs there through the Robert chicane, comes out across the line, Jamie Tonks is going to complete the lap. Can he improve on 7th? The answer is no, despite another personal best in the last sector, stays on the inside of row 4.
So yeah, I think it's pretty much shaped the way it is, isn't it, at the minute? No, that's a green sector in the middle. This could be quite interesting for Max Hart. I'm just looking. He'll be going through the chicane now to finish this lap off, and he could jump up one place maybe, but we'll see what happens as we watch Brad Kent come through. Max Hart through.
Goes 3rd. So yeah, jumps ahead of Alex Lee. You're right, it was a good lap that. And puts him near the pointy end. I'll tell you what, if this ends up being the grid, we're in for a spicy first race, aren't we? Shepherd on pole, nothing to lose. Smiley alongside him trying to preserve a championship lead. And Max Hart going hell for leather. I mean, his only target this weekend is to win both races, Max Hart, and he's putting himself at the business end of the grid.
Yeah, no, definitely, and he's got nothing to lose, absolutely nothing to lose. So he'll be basically wanting to turn up here, win both races, and go on. That's how it'll be for him. How easy that will be? Well, we'll have to wait and see, won't we?
Well, indeed, probably not that easy if the previous few rounds are anything to go by. Bradley Kent heading to the pit lane. His qualifying session is done with them. We're seeing now fewer and fewer improvements in sectors coming in. There are still a couple of them finding some extra pace. Chris Smiley, of course, and Max Hart both out there for another go at this. In fact, here comes Smiley in the Honda across the line. This is not going to be an improved lap time, but he will have time actually for 2 more laps if he wants them, with a minute and 25 seconds or so on the clock as he came through that time around. Max Hart coming out of the chicane is also not likely to improve that time around, and the Jam Sport Run Hyundai, which he says is a little bit down on power after free practice session earlier on this morning, and you tend to agree with him because he's not showing quite the dominant pace that he had here on the GP circuit earlier in the season. But can he find the extra couple of tenths he needs to move onto the front row? It's going to be a challenge to do, but Max, I'm sure, will push hard. So again, a couple more of them dive for the pit lane. But quite a few of them heading in, actually, which means the track is a bit clearer. Max Hart, yeah, definitely still pushing, Paul.
Yeah, definitely still pushing, but that's exactly what I expect from him, to be fair. But it's not a great first sector, so that's game over, I think, isn't it, for... Actually, no, it's not a bad first sector. Sorry, I was looking at Alex Lee. He was not too quick, but yeah, there's still time, is there, for Mac? Oh, he could get in a bit of trouble here if this car in front gets out of the way. That's brilliant stuff. That's Neil Trotter, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was indeed, and we're waiting still for... There's Max Hart now coming down towards us. One of the many Hyundai i30Ns on the grid. His middle sector was, again, not quite an improvement, and the car really lurching over those curves.
That's finished now. There's no way he's going to improve on that lap. There's too much oversteer on the way in. And he doesn't improve. It was a 10.9. He's done a 10.3 as his best. So, yeah, That's it. Did he cross the line before the timer stopped?
Yeah, he's got one more lap here, if he's got the tyres in him, but...
Too much understeer there. The front axle give up then, didn't it? And he ran across track limits, but he'll see on his Delta whether or not it's worth carrying on. And the way he's going, that car's got a lot of understeer now. I think the front tyres have cried enough, haven't they?
And that's concerning for the races, because 25 minutes, you don't want any understeer to be creeping in towards the end of the session. But of course, the drivers and teams will often put very different settings on the car between qualifying and the race, won't they? Because in qualifying, it's ultimate speed. You've got a couple of laps where the tyres are at their best, where you need to extract the maximum performance. In the race, though, you're looking for that long-run speed.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, there'll be a different setup in qualifying to the race. It'll be more aggressive for qualifying to get the absolute best out of the tyre. And Chris Smiley just coming to finish off his qualifying session, but he had no answer, did he? No answer to Shepherd.
No, and so Adam Shepherd sets the fastest ever lap time in TCR UK history. We have never had a lap time that's well over 101, maybe even to 102 miles an hour average speed, that for Adam Shepherd. That is incredible. 1 minute 9.890 in the end, compared to the previous fastest lap, which was 1 minute 10.3. And that's not just a Donington lap record, that is a TCR UK lap record, because Donington Park National is actually our fastest circuit that we race at. I know a lot of talk was had at Castle Combe a few weeks ago about how fast that place was, but actually Donington Park does have a higher average speed, so that is the fastest ever qualifying lap in TCR UK history, and it goes to the man still looking for his first victory in the championship, and he's been knocking on the door, came within a corner of doing it at Castle Combe before that now infamous left front puncture into the final corner. So Adam Shepherd then gets the provisional pole position. Chris Smiley will start alongside him, and let's now try and work out what this means for the championship, because as I said, there are points being offered in qualifying. 6 points for pole position for Adam Shepherd, 5 points crucially for Chris Smiley. He'll be quite happy with that, I think. 4 points will go the way of Max Hart, 3 in the end for Alex Lee. 2 points then for Jack Constable, and the final point in qualifying goes the way of Bruce Winfield, with significantly Isaac Smith ending up 8th at the end of the session. Isaac Smith will be disappointed with that. Now, there are two sides to every story. Yes, he's qualifying a lot further down the order than Chris Smiley. Yes, he's being outscored by Chris, and indeed the difference now between them will go right back up again in the championship tally. However, it does mean that Isaac is going to be lumbered with significantly less compensation weight for Snetterton next time out. So the car should, therefore, be a bit more competitive when we get to our final qualifying session, and indeed final 2 races in October. So let's take a look then, shall we, at how the qualifying session, rounded out with a new fastest ever qualifying lap in TCR UK for Adam Shepherd. 2 tenths to the good in the end over championship leader Chris Smiley. Max Hart will start the first race of the day from 3rd in an all Hyundai Road 2 with Alex Lee alongside him. Then it's a group of Cupras. In fact, it is Jack Constable, the PMR run Cupra, ahead of 2 of the area motorsport cars, Bruce Winfield and JV Tonks 6th and 7th, with Isaac Smith 2nd in the championship, but no points scored in qualifying. He will start race 1 from 8th. Bradley Kent got into 9th place by the flag, with Callum Newsham rounding out the top 10. And it's Darryl Wilson. Didn't mention him in that qualifying session, but he always goes well here at Donington, and the Astra will start 11th alongside the new shaped Cupra of Matthew Wilson. The double reigning champion Lewis Kent is only 13th, alongside the returning Russell Joyce, with Darren Lewis, the returning Darren Lewis, now at the wheel of an Audi RS3 TCR car. He starts 15th alongside Scott Sumter. Then it's Chris Wallace and Steve Gales, Mark Smith and Neil Trotter to round out the top 20 of what is a 25-car grid. Did we get all 25 out there? No, we didn't, because Brad Hutchison, who's had engine issues, low oil pressure in practice, looks like those problems were still very much there. 21st for him. George Healer will start 22nd. We did not see Andy Wilmot, certainly, and 1 or 2 others that didn't venture out in qualifying. Hopefully we'll see them out on the grid for race number 1. Right then, Adam Shepherd has just broken a bit of a TCR UK record, and he's on pole position for our first race of the weekend. It's his first ever pole position in TCR UK, and he is about to catch up with Paul O'Neill.
Thanks, Andy. Yes, and we were just talking off camera about maybe the little difference was a problem you found with the steering, and I tell you what, mate, the steering was definitely working then, because I've never seen a car so sideways.
Yes, no, it was good. Yeah, as I say, we found an issue with the power steering. I was largely driving around it thinking it was just the way these are. And then my dad got in it yesterday and said, no, he's got a problem with this. So we cured that before free practice, which is why we didn't get any practice in. And no, it was phenomenal, and the car was great.
What was the difference? Because that's the fastest ever TCR UK time around here. You dipped in the 9s, and anything in a low 10 was a record, but to do that in a low 9 was spot on. Have you know, the cars, for me, the cars never look Solari. It can't just be the power steering.
No, yeah, we've changed the car a lot. Area Motorsport and Shepherd Motors have worked together, and the car is phenomenal now. We've had some bad luck, but how it's handling at the moment, it is a bit leery, and that is me pushing a bit too hard. I think I could see my delta was up again, and my best lap wasn't a clean lap. So yeah, it was good.
I was looking at you into the chicane, and I thought, you're just locking rears up maybe, and the car's got a bit of rotation on the turn in, but I was so surprised. It was sector 3, actually. It was the chicane that found you your time, if I'm being honest, just looking at it. Did it feel that way to you? Because it can lose your time being too leery, can't it?
Yeah, it is. I have been struggling with the backs locking, and we found, funnily enough, a rear master cylinder had gone. We changed that today, and the bias is now all out because we're getting more effort for the same pedal. So we've had a lot of gremlins that we've been putting right, and yeah, there's more time in it for sure.
I'm going to put a gremlin right when I see Andy McEwen when I go back in the comms box. But last question, you've got to win it, haven't you? Come on.
I've got to try, yeah. For us, budget-wise, we're doing round by round, so we just want to go out and win everything we can. Championship's a long shot now. We've had too many issues with the car, so now we're on top of that. It's just try and win everything we can.
Top man, it's good to see you, mate. We love to see it.
Cheers, thank you.
No worries. Andy, back to you. Oh, actually, no, we are going to go to a couple of the other guys. I thought I was only going to speak to pole position. There's no one else here. They've all run off. Andy, I'm going to go back to you, mate.
They're that upset with you for the gremlin comment, Paul, that they're refusing to talk to you now, and I can't say I blame them. Yes, we will talk to many more drivers, I'm sure, on the grid before the first race a little bit later on. 2 races then for TCR UK coming up here today on the Donington Park National Circuit. The first of those will be at about 1:30. Before that, though, we've got action from the Miltech Sports Civic Cup. Their qualifying session kicks off in around about half an hour at 12 o'clock. Be sure to join us for that. And then we're racing through the rest of the day. 1:15, we'll be here live with all of the build-up for round number 12 of the TCR UK Championship. A very tasty-looking grid that we've got for that first race. Then the Civic Cup are out at 2:24. Very precise time that you need to be here. And not a minute later for the build-up for race 1 for the Civics before 4:10 is when we will have our reversed grid race for TCR UK. And that is set to be an absolute thriller. Likewise, the Civic Cup have a reversed grid race 2 at 10:06. And we do it all over again for the final time on the Snetterton 200 circuit on the 23rd of October. A long wait for that final round, but we promise you it will be worth it. So that is how the rest of the day looks then. Be sure to join us for all of our other on-track action here, but a very exciting qualifying session sees Adam Shepherd claim his first ever pole position in TCR UK, and he'll be gunning now for that first win a little bit later on this afternoon. The track, Field having absolutely none of it. Chris Smiley's Honda, and off goes the championship leader. Big drama for Smiley. Shepherd hanging on to the lead, but only just. The Audi loses one place, but tries to fight back as Constable's there as well. 3 wide, contact made. How they save that, I will never know.